Welcome back to my studio. Well, this is part 2 of the series on how to turn your gouache painting into something you can frame like an oil painting. In part 1, I showed you how to make a painting panel where you could use the watercolor paper and paint your favorite gouache paintings on that. Now, having made a painting panel for a gouache painting, I went ahead and did a painting. And you'll see that painting in a moment. Now I've got to prepare the painting so that I can frame it safely like an oil painting. And that means securing the surface of the painting. Gouache, pretty much like watercolor, can be reactivated after it's dried. So any water getting on it, moisture or dampness, it's going to mess with that painting. I need to cover it or seal it safely. And to seal it, I'm going to varnish it. But I can't brush the varnish on, obviously. That it will activate the gouache and it will ruin the painting. So the answer is some sort of spray varnish. And I've got a really interesting spray varnish to use for this. This is a varnish made by a company called Ghiant, and it's made in Belgium, so it probably sounds like Ghiant. Anyway, however you pronounce it, I apologize if I got it wrong. The interesting thing about this spray varnish is that it is water-based, and it says it has up to 90% less solvents. So that'll make a big improvement on that terrible toxic smell that you normally get with spray paint. So I've got 2 cans here from my friends at artsavingsclub.co.za. I've got a gloss and satin. There's also a matte version, but I prefer the satin look to matte. Alright, so the method here is quite straightforward. I am going to apply 2 coats of gloss and then follow up with 2 coats of satin. 4 coats all in all, and that should seal the gouache painting thoroughly. But I don't really want a shiny gouache painting, so going over it with satin will break some of that glossy shininess that I'm not such a fan of. Now, what about the effect of varnish on gouache? Isn't that going to change everything we like about the sort of matte look of gouache paint? Well, yes, it will. Unfortunately, any sort of varnish on the gouache paint is going to cause some change to the appearance. That sort of dry matte look that is quite appealing with gouache paint is going to be influenced by the varnish. But on the whole, I think it is a sacrifice that I'm prepared to make. It doesn't mean I'm going to varnish every gouache painting I do, but I think that this, as an opportunity to be able to hang up a painting without glass or to transport panels that I can paint on gouache very easily as well, all of that is a real plus. Let's have a go, and at least you'll have this option in the future as well. Okay, here's the painting that I've completed. It's the paper on the foam core, and it's dry and ready to be varnished. I'm using the Ghiant Gloss Varnish H2O water-based varnish for oil and acrylic paints. As it says, 90% less solvents, so pretty good. But with anything with water-based, make sure you mix it or shake it very well. And especially with spray paints, I've been shaking this can for a while, so it's pretty shook up. Alright, now the moment of truth. 2 coats of gloss on this painting. Let each coat dry before the next. So 1 coat now, let it dry for about 20 minutes and then apply the next coat. Even though this spray paint has quite a lot less solvents and doesn't have that really terrible smell, still use it in a ventilated area or outdoors on a calm day. Alright, another quick tip, make sure you don't stop your motion when spraying. It does get a very annoying sort of clumped up look with little white spots, and you've got to hope they all dry away. So you want to be moving this can constantly as you spray, and stop spraying with the can away from the painting, not over it, so you don't get annoying drips. Right, let's go. Okay, there it is. First layer across horizontally, then vertically to get proper coverage. Now you can see there's a little bit of overspray there with those little white dots on that, should all dry away. And you can also notice perhaps that the darks look a bit darker, so it does change the characteristic of gouache as a matte appearance. But then when the gloss layers are dry, I'm going to go over it with the satin varnish. But of course, if you put it behind glass, you're getting that glass shiny effect as well and some glare. So it's always some sort of compromise. Anyway, let that dry for a bit, and then the next layer. Okay, I'm now going to apply 2 layers of satin varnish, and that's just to get a more satin look to the painting, so it's not quite as shiny. Here goes with the satin layers. Okay, now you'll notice there is that sort of whitish, smoky look to it, but that is just a normal appearance. When it's wet, it will dry, and that sort of smokiness will disappear. Right, I have put the second coat of satin varnish on, and this is just about, I'd say this is dry to the touch. And that's it. It is done. I must say, I like the satin finish on this. It's not as shiny. It's definitely got a shine. It's different to the typical gouache appearance. But that's not necessarily a bad thing either. It just depends what you want. And now I'm going to test the water. I'll put some water on, and as you can see, hopefully, it is beading up. Spread that water around, it just beads up. And of course you can simply just mop it up with a tissue. So I'll just rub that around a bit, see if I get any color transfer. No, nothing. Let's not be unreasonable about it. Let's get that water off. Now, if you do get water on, you may get a little stain, which would probably just dry off, similar to if you put a glass on a table, water glass, something like that, it would dry. But otherwise, there we are. Quite happy with that. Not too shiny. Now I can put a frame together and pop this in a frame, and that should be it. Quite happy. Okay, well that was an interesting exercise, and it turned out better than I was expecting. It's the first time I've tried this, so really wasn't sure how it was going to work out. So, frame has been put together, and let's take a look. So there's the painting in its frame. And no glass, so I can hang this up on the wall with the oil paintings and acrylics. Well, there you go. Are you going to try something similar? Let me know what you think in the comments, whether you try something like this for yourself. I'm happy with the result, and I may do the similar process with a few gouache paintings, particularly larger ones. I think that I may want to hang on the wall. The thing is, you've got the choice, and I think it's quite nice to have that as well. Alright, well, I hope you've learned something new on this, and maybe some useful tips you can try it with your gouache paintings. Let me know if you like the video with a thumbs up, and if you can give the video a share as well, that would be fantastic. Make sure you've subscribed and hit the notification bell, and you'll get notified of the next video coming up soon. Alright, thanks for joining me. Until next time, cheers for now.